where he got up on the ridge, looked down there, he was going, just jumping. Looked like the thing was 12, 14 feet jump, running. The old man took a couple more shots at it.
Please support this channel by subscribing and leaving comments.
Hello everyone, it's Todd Prescott with the Sasquatch Archives. As mentioned previously, I'm in the process of updating many of my videos, making them more current, and unfortunately offering a review and or a reaction to those videos, because that's what this format calls for. YouTube is asking me to do a reaction video for a lot of my videos, so I'm going to be doing that, much to my chagrin. I'm going to start with the first video that I ever uploaded onto YouTube for this channel. That was back in 2016. It's an interview that Roger Patterson did of Fred Beck, and it was recorded, I believe, sometime prior to July 31st, 1966. That's based on a letter that John Green had written to Bob Titmus. And yeah, other than that, I can't tell you too much. It probably was written just prior to that, so just prior to 66. And as many of you know, John Green, who passed away in 2016, he had numerous cassette interviews, including this one, and he graciously granted me permission to share these publicly, and I have done that, and now I'm going to do it with a reaction, minimally, hopefully, because I want people to make up their own mind about what they hear. All the images accompanying this video are courtesy of John Green or from Patterson's 1966 book. Should any accreditation be missing, please let me know. And for those who don't know, that's the story of Fred Beck. In 1924, he was mining along with some other friends, acquaintances, and they were allegedly attacked by a group of Sasquatch. And in this interview, you're going to hear Fred Beck. He recounts the events leading up to the alleged attack. The clarity is not good. Bear in mind that the cassette was really old when I got my hands on it. I did my best to clean it up, but there's only so much you can do. Once again, I'll be following along and pausing it every now and then to add my 2 cents. Because of the lack of quality, I'm going to be, for the most part or entirely, including a transcript so you can really make out what Fred Beck and Roger Patterson are saying. Some of this is from Patterson's book. Some of it's also from Bobbie Short's website. And then a lot of it's just me figuring it out, because there were mistakes in the Bobbie Short transcription. So without further ado, let's get started.
To see tracks around there, but what did you see? We was mining in there and working on our claims, and about 2 years before we had the contact with him, we see tracks down on the muddy. We didn't have to worry, we had to have it from the beginning. We were fishing both ways. I see. But we heard, rumors. People came up the year before that, found the same thing. We were seeing them, big tracks up there. One fellow was saying about fishing, and they're still fishing with them on the bank. And when he went to get him around, it was a great big, like a mound. Hey, great big fella. As he speak, he typically just smacked them all on the rock. He come out there, passing everybody in. And nobody believed him. But my father-in-law was with me. He believed it. And he said that fellow didn't lie, but you knew him. He said that fellow was scared to come out of there. And he said there wasn't no human. So, then when we seen him tracks there, we never got so much apart, and my father-in-law was telling about these little people. We've experienced years ago seeing them tracks up there, one thing or another.
So let's just pause it there. You may find it interesting that tracks had been seen prior, and there was a history of sightings of something, large Indians, as they say. So whatever that means, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. There's a lot of controversy about the Fred Beck story, and if you're familiar with his book from '67, it was clearly written by his son. And when John Green went to visit Fred Beck, he was surprised at how involved Ronald Beck was in the discussions with his father. And in Green's opinion, according to what he told me, it seemed like the son, Ronald, was the mastermind behind the book, and in Green's opinion had added in a lot of the supernatural elements because he was really trying to get Green's attention and showing him books about clairvoyancy, spiritualism, which was very popular, in the early 1900s. And apparently Beck's son, Ronald, had a huge collection of those books and talked about it quite a bit to Green. So Green was left with the impression that the son, Ronald, had a huge influence in that book. And again, in Green's opinion, the book didn't sound like Fred Beck at all. It sounded like the son. And if that's true, then maybe we're not getting the full story or the true story with what happened up in Ape Canyon. We'll never know, right? Both Fred Beck and the son passed away many years back. But anyways, I just wanted to highlight that there was allegedly a history of these creatures in the area, and footprints had been found prior.
The Indians playing lots of Indians around here the other day. Some old Indians afraid to go back in there. The spirit, like, they're not thinking of the spirit. So, when we went up there, something else like that. We heard noises, whistling, noise like a pounding on their chest.
When was the first time that you actually seen one?
Well, about 2 years after that, we were seeing one. When I was in spring, with my father, my mining Bobbie, we had to go down into the gully to get water. That was a ridge, and the old man always carried his rifle with him when he went to the spring, because he said he'd seen tracks, awful suspicious tracks. And so he carried his rifle. So we went down, and I went with him, went down to get some water, and we looked up on a ridge there, about 100 yards away, and we seen this peeking out of this tree. And I seen him first, and I said, man, there's a... Look at that behind that tree. Just came, gets up, bang, bang, bang. I seen a spark fly, and the bullets were all just, the place was just like that. Banging right on the part of the tree, yeah. So we see him running down the ridge then. And he took a couple more shots at him. When he hit his first shot, I rushed over there. He was hard going. He said, don't run, Fred, don't run. He said, he wouldn't go far. I said, I put 3 shots through that fool's head. He said, he wouldn't go far. So he got up on the ridge and looked down there. He was going, just jumping. Looked like the thing was 12, 14 feet jump, running. The old man took a couple more shots at him. And the old man said, thank God, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. How I get away with him stuck in his head. And so I hit him in the head, 2 shots too. Well, he got away all right.
So shots were fired, supposedly, and the creature was hit. I'm always perplexed why someone would shoot something that they really didn't know what it is, but this is a different time. It's 1924, and you know, maybe you shoot first and ask questions later. I don't know. I'm not a hunter. I'm an outdoors person, but up here in Canada, we don't really carry guns and stuff like that. There's hunters, of course, but I don't know what they were thinking. And yeah, so definitely this was, you know, the catalyst to what would unfold. And yeah, so let's listen on and see what becomes of this alleged, you know, shooting and alleged consequences.
Well, now, the tracks that you've seen before, you would estimate it around how big?
Well, 19 inches was making. And two detectives were up with us, reporter. And they were making the tracks. It rained that night. We stayed in the lake and just poured down. And never did a regular cloudburst. And we went up there, and we had what we watched the beaches right under that little steeple, springs. You might call them springs. Melted snow, and a little gully there. We cleaned our pots out of beans and rice, and quickly when we got there, when we went up there, there were tracks made, 6 inches rain. Those tracks, they're 19 inches long. And the detective said, well, these are tracks all right, but said, who made them? And I said, well, who did make them? And we was all together, and I said, it's been 8 cents of rain. And then they talked about it. They waited on it. They might have been a coon, part human, you know. Yeah. All that stuff up there, part human.
A few things I'd like to touch on here that I think are interesting. Firstly, shots were fired seemingly with no effect on the subject or the creature. This is something that we hear about, read about a lot, where someone shoots and nothing really happens to the Sasquatch. Sometimes it rolls over, sometimes it just walks away as if it didn't get hit by a bullet. There are times where there are ill effects, we know about that, but a lot of times hunters say nothing. It was if nothing happened. Like shooting a 22 at an elephant, nothing happened. And maybe that's just the case. Maybe, you know, if you are of the mind that Sasquatch exist, maybe they have tougher skin. We don't know. Some of the indigenous people called them stone giants, as if, you know, they were hard as rock. It's possible. I don't know. It's all speculation at this point in time until one shows up somewhere to be studied. And the other point is the length of the footprint. 19 inches. That's a little higher, I think, than average. The patterson-gimlin film supposedly 14.5 inches. Mind you, that's supposed to be a female. Yeah, 19 inches is quite large, I think. However, supposedly detectives went up there, and I think that's true because people have done some research, and there is, you know, some report of detectives going there. So the tracks were measured. What the tracks were, I don't know. We don't have photos of those prints as far as I know. Anywho, just thought I'd touch on those two things because I think there's some relevancy in that. Back to the shoe.
Then they talked about it. They were waiting on it. They might have been a coon, part human, you know. Yeah. All that stuff up there, part human.
That's weird that the detectives would say might have been a coon. A raccoon's footprints, as far as I know, don't really get over 6 inches in length, and that would be a large coon, I think, because I remember finding raccoon prints several years back, and I was surprised at how large they were, and I believe they were between 5 and 7 inches. I can't remember exactly, and that was way larger than I'd seen commonly for coon prints. So why the detectives would think that they might be coon prints. They're so different than a footprint, human or ape, or typically what we think of as a Sasquatch print. That's kind of weird. I could see them saying bear because often I think double bear prints will show similar to a Sasquatch print, and of course human footprints mirror Sasquatch prints in some regard as well. I just don't know about the coon thing. That's very odd to me.
Well, but when you finally did see,
well, it was another one way feeling, but we heard that noise pounding and whistling at night. They come in there and we had a pile of shakes. I piled up a big shake. Our cabin was built out of log. We didn't have rafters on it. Had a good sized pine log. 2-inch shake, pine shake. Well, I had them rafters close by. They was about a foot apart. Clean that. But he said he wanted to make a one to hold the snow. We made one to hold the snow. Them buggers tackled it. Knocked the chicken out on my dad, on my father-in-law's chest. And had an axe there. He grabbed the axe, and the old man grabbed the axe and turned it so he couldn't go through the chicken between the logs. And then he shot on it, right on the axe handle, and he let go of it. Then the fun started. Boy, I want to feel. Been there all night long. It was on that house, trying to get in, And we kept shooting. Get up on the house, we shoot out through the ceiling. Could see them, man. We could hear them up there. My God, they made a noise. It sounded like a bunch of horses running around there.
It's interesting that they never did see what attacked their cabin. And for those who are well acquainted with the stories that went along with this alleged attack, you'll know that there was an individual who claimed to have been a person rolling boulders down onto the cabin, and then there was supposedly some boys from a YMCA camp, I think it was, or some sort of camp close by, who snuck out one night, and there was rumor that they rolled rocks onto the cabin. However, this was not just a few rocks rolling on the cabin, according to Fred Beck. It was an assault. I mean, it went on for a long time, but they didn't see what it was. At least at this point, he's saying that they didn't see it, and that's something that the skeptics, can use as leverage. Well, what was it? You don't know. It could have been someone rolling rocks or throwing rocks at you. It could have been someone pranking you. Just don't know. So many questions.
Next day, find tracks anywhere there's any sand on the rock. There's been tracks of it.
It was the same tracks that you'd seen before.
Yeah, same tracks. But I never measured them, but they were big size. That was the only track they measured, was the detectives measured them.
Now, you explained this a while back, that there was at one time that you had shot one.
Oh, yeah.
When did this?
Well, that was the next morning, I guess it was. You remember, right?
After the attack?
Yeah. We were going to go down to the tunnel to get some tools out there. We had drills and things like that in. And I told them we were going to clean out and go home. So we went down. I had a rifle with me. We all carried rifles after that happened. Down the ridge there a little ways, probably 100 yards. I don't know, it wasn't that far. There was one of them fellas went out of a break and ran down and the gorge, and I shot him in the back, 3 shots. And I could hear the bullets hit him, and I see the fur fly on his back. I shot very hard. And he stopped, he just fell right over the front leg. And then he go zoom down into the canyon.
And he fell into Ape Canyon.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. So earlier, shots were fired seemingly having no effect on the Sasquatch. But now, when Fred shoots, he's blown the thing off the edge of the ridge into the canyon. I'm not sure what the difference was between Marion shooting and him shooting. It just seems kind of odd to me, but maybe it's a different caliber gun. Maybe it's just where Fred hit the thing. But this was, as he said, the day after, the morning after. So yeah, it's a head shaker. These old stories, you just don't know, and this is the enigma of these old stories. And eventually, I'm going to get into the Osmond story because, yeah, there's a lot to discuss about that. But let's hear what else good old Fred has to say here.
And sun come out in the afternoon, that water was really torrents was down. It wash anything out falling there. And that's the reason I don't know whether they're human or not. If I couldn't kill them, but I hit.
Well, how would you describe, Mr. Beck, as far as what they look like in their body and in their head?
Well, they were tall. I don't know, they looked to me like they're 8 foot tall, and they were tall. And they was built like a man, and little in his waist, and big shoulders on his chest, and their neck was what they call bull necks, you know how they right. They come here.
No neck at all, hardly.
And that's it. And then their ears it protrudes out like ours do. They're big, you know. And the hair all of them, you could tell about them.
Did they have hair on their face? Or did you ever?
No, let's see. I don't believe they did. I believe they did have hair on their face.
But not as much as...
No. Yeah, they have whiskers.
Sure.
Okay.
How about their nose?
Oh, I couldn't, but I was, they seem to have a pug nose, a flat nose, kind of flat.
And their eyes?
All I can know is we was excited, you don't
sure.
It's very good detail when you're excited, but I know one thing is they wasn't no human.
They did though walk upright. Did you ever see one?
I've never seen one on the floor.
They always walked upright. Their arms probably
arms are down below the hips. Long. I'd say they take down
below their knees.
Yeah, their knees. Long arms. And big arms.
What would you estimate maybe for weight?
They're pretty heavy. I'd say they're 600 or 800 pounds. Just estimate them.
Sure.
And maybe more, I don't know. I couldn't tell you the weight of them, but when there's something down the ground, I just see have some idea about it. I say they weigh that much out, 800-900 pounds or more, because it made a deep imprint in the dirt. See, there's so much rock up there, only can see them in places where there's sand,
Sure.
Fred Beck describes what he, alleges to have seen. It's a little ambiguous, not a lot of finer details. I guess that's to be expected. You're seeing it possibly partly obscured. One could argue that because he doesn't give a lot of details, did he really see anything? You always have to wear both hats, believer and skeptic, and find the middle ground, I suppose. Some of what he's saying mirrors what people say nowadays, and maybe some of it doesn't, depending on the sighting. I don't really want to sway someone's opinion here. I just find it a little too ambiguous, his description of what he claims he saw. Let's continue.
Well, now, after you had the attack, what happened then the next morning?
Well, we come out of there. Come down. I found he was so excited and scared. And I told him, he promised to never tell nobody, because I said it wouldn't do, people wouldn't believe it, don't tell anybody. He said, I won't. But he did. We went down to the lake, and the rangers down there knew him, He was excited. Took him in the other room and talked to him, and he acknowledged what the trouble was. And they said that they believed it because the old man had been a hunter. They knew him, and all his life was an Indian himself, hunting. Until there's no little thing he ever scared, no animal or anything like that. And then he went to kill someone. I told some of his friends down there. Then the newspaper reporter, he was a merry time, day and night.
Have they ever heard of anybody before this?
I don't remember.
You never
really didn't believe it.
I see. Well, we sure thank you for this interview.
Yeah, there was a lot of newspaper coverage back in 1924 in the I can't even say it. Oregonian, I think it's the name of the newspaper. Sorry if I got that wrong. I know Mark, our Ape Canyon specialist, is going to say, Todd, come on, get it right. I think it's the Oregonian. Yeah, there was a lot of coverage, and you can see there's the picture there that I paused on. And of course, Mark, our resident Ape Canyon expert, found the cabin and has gone up there. It's quite a dangerous place to go. Luckily, it survived the Mount St. Helens volcano, and yeah, Mark is he is a land surveyor, I believe, so he's good at finding things, let's say, and we're glad that he's committed to trying to get to the bottom of everything. But he's certainly verified a lot of what Fred has said as far as there being a cabin and mining claim. He's done some great research, so kudos to Mark for all that. I'll put his last name here so you can see what his last name is, and I don't want to mispronounce it. I think it's Marcel, I think, and I apologize if I am mispronouncing that, Mark. And I wanted to say that I believe that people had this recording, like Bobbie Short had the recording from John Green's collection, I presume. John Green got it from Roger Patterson. He did a trade of some cassette interviews. Now, it had never been, again, to my knowledge, had never been made public available online until 2006 when I uploaded it to my channel. And I did that because I had the ability to do that, and I wanted to share it because I'd seen the transcription by Bobbie Short, but it's always nice to hear it, although the quality's not good. It's nice to hear Fred Beck talk and Roger Patterson's voice as well. You know, I wish that Roger had have done a more thorough interview. I don't know what the situation was, circumstances. It was a very short interview, and maybe that's not the entire interview. I don't know. I've never had access to Patterson's cassette interviews. His widow will have those. Maybe someone has got those. I'm sure there's a treasure trove, because Patterson did a lot of cassette interviews, from my understanding. It'd be nice to know if this is the entire interview or just a portion of it. I suspect it's the entire interview. I think that back then, you know, it was a different time, and you just didn't ask the questions that you would ask now. It's just the way it was. You know, you didn't think that it would be so important to the Bigfoot culture, let's say. So I hope you enjoyed that. My apologies for having to interrupt the video, but that's what YouTube wants, and hopefully that will appease them. And I'll start doing that with other videos. It's quite time consuming to do it because I have to merge me doing this with the video, but it is what it is, and it's a labor of love, as I've always said. And stay tuned for the next video, and thanks again for all your support. Take care and stay safe.
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments.